Tuesday on Melrose Mountain, Tryon, North Carolina, and it's higher ground. That's our place up here on the mountain. And it's 82 degrees. Expect to cool down this afternoon as a thunderstorm's supposed to roll through. 82 is pretty warm for us up here, and we're enjoying a beautiful day so far, and looking that we may have thunderstorm. Recently, a lady wrote me and said, what do we do about authority? I mean, the Bible tells us to honor authority and to submit to authority, and yet some people seem to abuse that authority. And she mentioned parents that abuse children, husbands that abuse wives, and government officials who abuse the system and seem to make very ungodly decisions. Well, I pretty much knew who she was talking about, and pretty much knew that she was thinking about several different situations that had been in the news recently. And I wrote back what I believe is correct, and that is that we should speak out against wrong, and that even though they have been given the authority, they're held accountable to a higher power than we are, and that their authority should never overrule what other rules are. And therefore, just as you can get a driver's license, you're expected to keep the rules with that authority you're given with a driver's license. Nevertheless, it was interesting as I was preparing today's devotion from Jeremiah. We have the promise that I gave to her, which is all of these in authority are held accountable to a much higher power. In Joshua chapter 36, time is told to us by the kings that are in rule. And here in chapter 36, we find a ruler that was not a good king. As a matter of fact, in Judah, during this period, there was only one, Josiah, who was a fairly decent king. All of the ones that followed him were really tyrants and did not really stand for God. There's a series of T's that I see in the text here in chapter 36. First of all, there's the call to turn. Jeremiah dictates a scroll which is to be read to the people and eventually will be read to the king. And the message of the scroll is to turn from sin and from their wicked ways. And then there would be a test, because God's anger and his wrath would come if they didn't turn. The scroll was said to be something that should be read. It was read in the temple, and there was trembling by many of the people of the land, and they were concerned about what was going on. Then there's the torching of the scroll. Jehoiakim is a king that's in rule right now, and we find in chapter 36 verses 20 and following that the king read the scroll and then took it and threw it into a fire that was blazing in front of him, and neither he nor the slaves or the servants of him seemed to have any fear. Makes you think about the proverb that says the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And then, of course, there was some threat to Baruch and Jeremiah, who had been responsible for the scroll. And it says that God protects his own. In chapter 36, verse 26, it says, the Lord hid them. Now, I don't know how he did that, and I don't really care how he did it, but he hid them so that they wouldn't be harmed by the king or by any of his people. And then we have the promise of the termination of the king. When a second scroll is written and delivered to the king, there is the termination of his life foretold. In verse 29, it says that the Babylonians will come and certainly destroy this land, man and beast. Jehoiakim has no fear of this, and he doesn't seem to respond at all. And it says that Jehoiakim will have no one to take his throne, and that his dead body will be cast out into the heat of the day and the frost of the night, and the Lord will punish him and his descendants with calamity. And that's exactly what I told that lady. There may be some that seem to be getting away with terrible things right now. There may be some that are abusing their authority, both husbands and parents and political leaders who seem to be doing things that are in an ungodly way and don't seem to have any fear of God. But their time is coming. God is the final judge. So there's the call to turn. There's the call of testing. There's the trembling for those that realize that this is going to happen. There are those that would torch the scroll. They would torch the Bible. They don't want to hear it. But there's also the terminal. That is, they will be judged. And their boss, the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, sits on his throne. And he will judge with a righteous judgment. And they will pay a terrible price. For all of us in authority are held responsible for the things that we do, that we say, and how we act. That's your thought for the day. God bless you and have a great day.